Hello everyone, Chaim Olevsky here about family programs with a powerful perspective on a controversial issue. So, when I was in Israel and for yeshiva, I was there from 15 through 18. That's how I learned my Hebrew. It's good practice if you have a child who's in yeshiva, or a girl, yeshiva, boy or girl, yeshiva or seminary age. Send them to Israel for a year or two or more of learn the language. It's a value that stays with you forever. Well, when I was there, part of the experience, Shalom Yehudi, we're doing a Dvar Torah. So a lot of the yeshiva boys would try to wiggle out of the army duty. It's a mandatory 3-year army, as everybody knows. And a lot of people would wiggle out of it in order to be able to continue studying in the yeshiva. And everyone in the Chabad community, it's known that everyone in the end does serve the army, but not everybody wants to do it exactly during the yeshiva time, etc. So that's an issue that, raises a lot of anxiety in the Jewish community in Israel, and maybe around the world too. The Rebbe talked about this concept in a very interesting way, and he brought the Torah perspective to it, which spans military and also business. And it was related to this week's Torah portion, where the Jewish people were fixing to enter Israel, and the tribes of Reuben and Gad, they had a lot of cattle, and they asked Moshe, said, can we stay on the eastern side of the Jordan River and not cross over into the land with our brethren? And Moshe responded pretty strongly and said, Ha'achechem yavo shama v'atem teshvu po. Your brothers will go to war over Israel, the land that we were promised by God to give to our forefathers, the desired land, the ultimate purpose of our exodus of Egypt. And they're going to go fight for it and battle for it, and you'll sit here relaxed. And then they said, in the Torah narrative, they actually did something very noble. They said, we're going to go in front. We'll go before everyone, and we'll fight for them while our women and children and belongings stay over here, and then we'll return. And that's what they did. Anyway, so the Rebbe talks about the perspective over here, and he says about the battle perspective. He says that the Gemara says that in the times of King David, there were many wars that were battled. King David, or David HaMelech, was the king, and he was the leader. The army captain, commander, very renowned for his ability and bravery, was Yoav. Yoav was on the battlefront. David was back at home. And they had this partnership. And the partnership was that David would stay home and study Torah and pray, while Yoav and the soldiers would go out to the battlefield and shoot and do what they needed to do. And the Gemara talks about this and says that Yoav knew that without David's study and prayer, he would not succeed. And David knew that without Yoav on the battlefront, he would not succeed. And it was a perfect partnership where they each respected the other's position and they knew that they needed each other. And the Rebbe goes ahead and gives an example from the military itself. And he says, in the military you have many different positions, and you have the mind, the intelligence, you have the strategist who's coming up with all the plans of how to conquer the enemy. Then you have the soldier, all the way down to the soldier on the battlefield, on the front lines. So the Rebbe says a person might, whoops, I'm working with a gimbal over here, stabilizer for the first time. So I'm trying to check it out, see if it works. So the Rebbe says that the parents of a soldier on the front lines might, or the soldier himself, might say, oh look, this strategist, he's sitting in a comfortable office, well rested, it's quiet, it's peaceful, while me or my son or children are out on the field dodging bullets or dodging arrows. I mean, seriously, get out there and do something. And the Rebbe says, of course, any logical person will understand that if the strategist would leave his post and go to the front lines, the war would be lost. There's no chance of victory. And the Rebbe goes on and says not just the intelligence, but also the support staff, the supplemental support staff, like the food. You know, there's men and women providing and arranging food for the soldiers for wherever they are, to bring it to them, to provide it and dispense it, etc. And without that food, all the ammunition and skill in the world wouldn't help, because a dead soldier can't shoot. So it's obvious that you need the soldier on the front line, you need the strategist in his room, and you need the food to get to the soldier in order for the war to be won. And the Rebbe explains that food there's a dual meaning to food. Nourishment. There's physical nourishment, about which we just spoke, and there's spiritual nourishment. And that is the Torah study that the people do in the safety of their homes or in the yeshivas that enable the soldier to live on. The people who dedicate their lives or their year or the time of battle to study Torah, they're providing the life force for the soldiers on the battlefield and for all of Israel. As it says, Kihem Chayenu. They, the Torah, the words of the Torah, are our life. That is our true life force. And the Rebbe says an interesting thing. He says that he compares a deserter in the battlefield, the front line deserter, which in Hebrew or in Israel they call him the Arik. And Arik is somebody who runs away from the battle. And he compares that to a Torah deserter. And he says, just like the front line deserter, the soldier on the front line, or in the food, or in the intelligence, anywhere, if they would leave the battlefield and go do something else and go study Torah, that would be considered a deserting the battle to the detriment of the war, and they should not do that. So too, that's the person who dedicates him or herself to studying Torah or to praying for the welfare of the soldiers. If they leave their post, if he closes the Gemara and goes out to the battlefield, that too is a deserter, and it's to the detriment of the battle. And the victory is not ensured without his help in the Torah study. And the Rebbe goes on and says that the challenges of the Torah-Studier might even be, in some ways, greater than that of the person of a battlefield who comes back alive. And the Rebbe says the person and the soldier, the commander on the front lines, They have a big support system. The family, the friends, everyone's, the soldiers themselves, their comrades in arm. They get lots of pats on the back. They get published in the newspapers about their achievements. They get medals. They get promotions. And they have stories to tell about their courageous acts and heroism and fearlessness in the dark of the night, in the battlefield, etc., for generations to come. Unlike the Torah scholar, who, when he comes home, first of all, there's no newspaper articles, there's no PR, there's no medals waiting for him. But his wife is waiting for him, says the Rebbe, and says, look at the neighbor's lawn. He brought home his tank. Look at that. And what do you have in your hands? You have this old 150-year-old Gemara printed, withering away, and you're sitting there leafing through its pages. Look at the tank and look at your Gemara. How can you compare the two? Those are challenges. Says the Rebbe, Torah Emes, the true Torah, tells us that not everything we see is what you get. And both are essential elements in the success of the battle, of the war. You need the Torah and you need the tank. Or in these days, the drones and the Air Force. God forbid. And the Rebbe moves us on. We'll find, ends this specific talk, comparing this also with business. He says there are two tribes in Israel that were in the blessings that our forefather Yaakov blessed them. He blessed all the 12 tribes for what they would be doing in the future. And the two tribes which were paired together were Yisachar and Zevulun. Yisachar were the studiers of the Torah. They were the teachers, the rabbis, the learners, the students. That was their main occupation. Zevulun were the merchants, the business people. And there was a partnership between Yisachar and Zevulun, that Zevulun would go out and do business and make money and support the families of Yisachar, support the yeshiva, support the learners. And they all knew, they both understood that this is an equal partnership. And the Rebbe explained, so that the person who's making the big bucks oftentimes is well praised and well honored in the community, while the one who studies Torah feels is humbled by the idea that he needs to rely on someone else's generosity, which sometimes is more forthcoming than others, depending on the day. And the Rebbe says that's the reality down here. But the truth is, the Torah understanding is that the supporter of the yeshiva knows, if he's wise, that the study of the Torah, that the people whom he supports are studying and praying in his merit, are ensuring his success in business. That itself is a wonderful incentive for the businessman to partner with the Torah institution. And the Rebbe concludes with I forgot. But that was the basic idea, that there's a partnership and each one needs each other, both in the battlefield and in the business world, and we should all keep our posts and stand strong and benefit from each other. God bless you.